Hey everyone, how we doing today? This is James Sweeney, aka SplitSuit, and welcome back to another video. And as part of the Ask SplitSuit a Question series, a bunch of people asked hand history questions. This one actually came privately via Facebook. And Yannis prefaces the hand by saying, "Hello dear SplitSuit, I've been playing microstakes cash games for years and been watching your nice videos. I played this hand on Zoom 25 against a totally unknown villain and would like to hear your opinion on it." Okay, so in this hand we have 9-8 suited, folds us in the cutoff, we open, get called by the button, go heads up to it, everything looks okay so far, end up flopping a flush draw, here decides to continuation bet, and I would also continuation bet this as well. It's one of those spots where you're not going to get as many folds because your opponent has position on you. You should expect to get floated here a very non-zero percentage of the time, and because this person's an unknown, I just have to use default base assumptions, and my base assumption is that in a 6-max game, when someone has position on me, I expect far fewer folds when I continuation bet than if I were in position myself. So operating under that assumption, I'm not shocked that we end up getting called, which means because I expect more continuance on the flop, I have to have that profitable plan for the turn. Now on the turn, we're going to have a couple different things that happen. We're going to either hit it or we're going to miss it. Pretty simple, right? That's pretty much what happens in this situation. And we can already think ahead and say, okay, what are we going to do on each of those cards? So typically when you improve, you continue betting. When you miss, you could consider a check raise, just like you consider that when you hit as well, for the record, but at least start thinking about that now. And this is really what off-table stuff is for, is to start saying, okay, what are my realistic lines I could take, knowing, of course, what I think is going to happen right this moment, which means my c-bet is going to get called more. What do I think is going to happen? What line should I take? Which line is going to be best? This really is what off-table study and exploration is all about. So in this situation, 5 bricks off in the turn, here decides to double barrel for $3. So one of the things I would heavily consider at this point in the hand is going for a check raise as opposed to going for the $3 double barrel. Not that I hate the double barrel by any stretch, but let's think back on the flop. So I made the assumption that I thought we were going to get called more often and that our opponent was going to take more hands to the turn. Think about the amount of strong hands that our opponent can have. They probably would have 3-bet ace-king preflop, so that's gone. They probably would have 3-bet kings and queens preflop, so that's gone. There's 3 combos of pocket threes. If he has all combos of king-queen, we're talking 9 combos of that. So there are very, very few monster 2-pair plus combos in his range, and anytime that he has a king, it's going to be like king-jack, king-10, maybe a king-9 suited. So we're not talking about like the strongest of hands possible. And that's a really important thing to consider because you can have all of those hands, right? You open pre-flop, you continuation of the flop, all of those hands could possibly be in your range, but he cannot have them. Definitely something important to consider. And the other thing is, if you think about the kind of hands that your opponent would call you with on the flop, chances are there's going to be 2 types. They're either going to be like paired, or they're going to be kind of garbagey or kind of drawy, or more likely to bet when you check to him on the turn, right? Because he's not going to like call the flop with ace-10 and then check behind the turn. That just doesn't fit in line with what most people do. They call the flop so that they can take away when someone shows weakness by checking on future streets. So I really like check raising here. I think you get a bet from a very, very, very large part of your opponent's range, and you can apply a lot of pressure, and you should also be doing this with other hands. It shouldn't just be draws. You can do this with value type hands as well from time to time until your opponent starts adjusting, and then you just readjust. It's pretty simple from there. So another real quick thing that you want to consider here is that you have 9-8 of hearts, which means it's very unlikely that this person's going to have very many heart combos, simply because the king of hearts is spoken for. If they had something like ace-10 or ace-jack of hearts or jack-10 of hearts, I expect that would have gotten raised on the flop. It's very typical to play those super draws very aggressively. I'd expect to face a raise either on the flop or on the turn, so if I don't get raised here or anything like that, I'm not assuming that they have some sort of like monster heart draw, which means that their draw combos are going to be like ace-jack, jack-10, jack-9 suited, that sort of thing. So at least keep those kind of things in mind. And I know I'm kind of going a little bit further down the rabbit hole than some people may be comfortable with, but this is the kind of stuff that you should be thinking about off the table, really trying to get in there and really think about ranges and really think about what kind of plays people are going to make when you check at them versus when you bet at them. And another thing to consider going for the check raise is that if you bet here, I don't think Queen X goes away. just simply because players in 6max tend to be much stickier, not even incorrectly, they just tend to get stickier. So I think that if you bet here, Queen X is still continuing because Queen X is going to be decent, right? It's going to be like Ace Queen or Queen Jack and that sort of thing. And he's going to put you to a test to show him King X. And I don't know. I think that if you check raise, you have a much higher chance of getting Queen X to fold, whereas if you bet here, very little chance of getting Queen X to fold. So we end up getting called. Brick on the river. Here decides to go for it again. And again, at this point, I just don't think there's a ton of draw combos you can get to fold. There are a reasonable amount of King X hands that I don't think are going to fold, Queen X hands that I don't think are going to fold. And the reason why I say that is because this person's an unknown, right? It's not like this person's a nitty guy who's shown the propensity to fold to a decent sized river bet and get rid of second pair that was decent or top pair that was decent, right? I don't have that information. I don't have that confirmation. So because of that, I'm going to operate under the assumption that I'm never getting a pair to fold, a King X or a Queen X, which means I'm only getting folds from like Jack 10 and gut shots, and I'm not even sure gut shots are here anymore, after they call the turn. So because of that, we're down to some combos of Jack 10 that fold, but a lot of sticky pairs, and I'm really not shocked when we end up getting looked up here. And, definitely make sure you take a note on this, but this is not something that I'm surprised about. So Yannis, thanks for the great hand, and if you or anyone else has a poker-related hand or question, feel free to leave it on our Google Plus page. Leave a link for that in the description box, and also please make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this type of video. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. Otherwise, good luck out there, and happy grinding.